I know.
So,
All right, so we are out of executive session at 7:10. Moving on, I will look for a motion for the agenda. Motion by Jeff on approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Hey.
Aye. Alan? This is either way. Moving on, finance, Lewis.
Evening, everyone. So in the packet is the budget timeline. We discussed this a little bit at the SU meeting 2 months ago. Basically, for the district, tonight we're going to have a brief discussion about the budget, but we're looking to present the first draft of the Rutland Town budget at the November board meeting. Tonight's goal would be just to get any feedback from the board. If there was any information that you would like the administration to present to the board at the first draft of the budget meeting. Because the cycle is so short, we really only have less than 3 months to present a approved budget to the taxpayers. We want to make sure that we have as much information for you as possible when we first present the first draft. So tonight we'd just like to see if there's anything that you have any priorities, any parameters you want to set on the budget process, so that when we go back and prepare that first draft, we can make sure that we have as many pieces as possible ready to present in November, so there's not a delay. December, we present the second draft, and then beginning of January is when we'd be looking to approve the final draft of the budget. We have to have the final ready for the warning and for the town reports, usually by mid-January. Also, usually Rutland Town does a pre-town meeting in the middle of January, so we really don't have a lot of time between November and January to get this done. So I really like to open it up to the board to see if there's any specific things that you'd like to see, any information that you would like presented, any priorities that you would want us to include in the budget process this year.
Anyone? Thoughts? Sarah? We usually lean on you in terms of like the absolute needs of the building and the staff. So I don't know if there's anything that you want to kind of spearhead.
For our budget, I met, as we do every year, I have Sherry email the teachers prior to meeting with Lewis to just say if there's any big item on your wish list, please reach out. So that's done every year. And then we sat down with Kelly to go over the 5-year facility plan. So there's a couple of things we're waiting estimates on. One of them is the projector for the gym. So we had a guest speaker a couple weeks ago, and it just our tech team and facilities crew, it takes a lot of time to set things up. We've talked about bleachers. Our bleachers are okay. They're the wooden hard bleachers, but we talked about replacing those. We do have some of you have seen some bulges in the roof. I put this in my principal's report too. So those, we have one estimate that again is my principal's report. We're going to get another one. It's pretty high to fix that. So no really big ticket items currently. I think, everything has gone up. So consumables, our math work, books, paper, clean supplies, everything goes up. So just keep that in mind. And I hope to have some updated numbers with facility stuff in the next couple of weeks. We didn't have it quite yet. So there's nothing really big that Lewis and I talked about. Our numbers look good. Again, those are solid.
I mean, at the state level calculation wise, things, curveballs or anything that
I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns at this time.
But
We're
yeah,
waiting for, well, December 1st will be the tax commissioner's letter with the estimated yield. We don't have any sense of long-term rate APM, which will be a big factor. CLA is always a big factor. And then,
it's all the typical ones, but nothing coming out of, like 3 years ago, right? Like, just totally,
nothing new. I think there's still a lot of stuff that's still pending from last year with Act 73. But there shouldn't really be any changes to the calculation for this year. This will be the first year in 3 years where we have an apples to apples comparison when we're looking at tax rates and yields, and because the calculation should be steady from last year.
One thing that we hope to incorporate within like projector and mic system and stuff for our gym is also some speakers. We're very fortunate that Aaron Audette, our music teacher, he lends us his equipment. We used to have to rent a lot of stuff. He won't be here forever. There is retirement on the horizon. So that is also, we're trying to wait for a bid to incorporate all of those things because we can't just keep relying on Mr. Audette to borrow his equipment.
We used to have a music,
Friends of music.
friends of music, that thing. We still have that.
Oh, we do have our Friends of Music, but I think this just won't be just for music. This would be for all events, like plays, guest speakers, kind of the whole package.
Non-visual setup at the gym.
Correct, just an AV setup. And I think when they had talked about consolidation, I think it's important that we have a facility with, we've talked about it, the board's been wonderful, making sure that your facility is updated. So I think that's one area that we,
Just gotta make sure that in that system, there's a podium that can be hooked onto the sound system as well. Got somebody speaking on stage.
right, and that's what Greg Connors, he's been working on that. So he's touched base with Aaron Audette and Kelly. They came here, I forgot, last week sometime. So they're working on a bid for that.
Something that's impacted the budget has been tuitions. Is there any, I wonder if there's some. You'll be able
Tuitions
to, high school tuition.
for hours, yep.
I wonder if there's something, some information you might have.
So
Not right
we,
now, but.
during the budget process, typically what we do for secondary tuition is we look at the students that we have now, 9 through 12, and we move everybody up a grade. And for those students that are currently in 8th grade, we estimate where they may be going based on percentages. Maybe 50% go to the school, and so we'll assign them a school based on the tuition rates for those schools. I'm not sure off the top of my head right now what tuition is looking like, but I think you do have a big class currently, or a small class in your 8th grade. Right, I know we talked about it at
Yeah.
a meeting, but that's something that we'll look at and present at during the first draft.
Lewis and his crew, they know cohorts. So they'll say your big class is leaving. We got a small coming in, like you know all that stuff.
And what is it the state that sets the rate for tuition?
The state sets the rate for private schools and out-of-state schools. Public schools set their own rate. And I did hear from Rutland City, and nothing's official yet, but they are looking at possibly a no increase again for their tuition rate. It's not set in stone yet, but that's something that they're anticipating.
And so if our students go to any school, is it the Rutland High rate that we use?
No, so,
Not going above that unless it's out of state.
so if they attended public school, then we would pay whatever that public school sets their rate at. If they go to a private school, then we would use the private school rate. And then there is a calculation in statute called allowable tuition. So after the year is done, every school has to submit all of their finances to the state, and the state comes up with what's called an allowable rate. That's the highest rate that you can charge for tuition. And so if the rate you charged was more than that allowable rate, then you have to issue a refund.
Yeah.
And if it's less than what was charged, then you can do what's called a chargeback, And there's more particular specifics regarding it, like if it's within a 3% window, then you don't have to refund or charge, or you can't charge. And you can only charge up to 10% higher. So
Is that how we got a little bit of our surplus?
last year we received a
Part of
refund.
the
I believe it was about $70,000 or $80,000. That, yes, did feed into the surplus.
We don't have a surplus anymore, right? It's not,
We do have a surplus
we have a
that,
little surplus.
that will be part of your FY27 budget. And that's something that we'll discuss in the coming months.
We want to have a little surplus, don't we? Does the school want to have a little cushion? I mean, what is it
In
called?
general, surplus is good.
Money
I
to
mean,
open.
there are things that be impacted negatively by having a surplus. As far as the following year, if you don't have a surplus, then you're starting in the negative. So this year, I think we had a surplus of $265,000, and so that'll be a revenue unless the board decides to put a separate ballot on or item on the ballot to put that money for use for something else like a capital improvement fund. But if you use that 265,000 as revenue this year and you don't have any surplus the following year, then you're starting $265,000 with less revenue. So that's really the one negative. It's one-time money.
Oh, there's there was a third thing I was wondering about, and that was grants that they can't count on. Is there something you'll know? Or maybe it's a good point.
So Rutland Town doesn't currently receive any grants that are part of your budget. Most grants are at the SU level. We receive a few federal grants that help subsidize the budget.
And do some of those come to us? Possibly.
No, they're all at the SU level. So you have your CFP, which is your Title I, Title II,
Okay,
and then we have our IDB grant. Those are the two grants that we really have left. Those are the two big ones. And IDB is for special ed. So I mean, it sort of flows down to the schools because less expense, or less net expense at the SU means less assessment. So if we receive 800,000 IDB grant, that's 800,000 less that the schools have to pay. But it doesn't go directly to any of the schools. It's paid at the SU level.
all right, thanks, but
I can't say that, good luck putting all this together. And just speaking for all the rest of the taxpayers out there, be kind. But, you know, it's like, I know what you gotta do and all that kind of stuff, but you know, the rest of the taxpayers out there, I don't even understand this, so.
Well, we did have a few one-time expenses that were in the current year's budget.
Yep.
For the large projects that we were completing, and those one-time expenses are coming out. So but this budget will look a lot better than it has in past years.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have anything, really to share. I mean, I kind of echo Sarah's part about like the facilities and things like that. I mean, it's prideful to walk into a building that's well kept and well maintained and things like that. I don't think it's egregious spend to make sure that things are, function well and things like that. Aesthetics are nice, but I think you can actually accomplish a little bit of those. So I think there's a couple of, the HVAC and the asbestos and the carpeting and things I think were, pretty well timed to lift enough that now should allow us to stay within the budget and still be able to apply our maintenance spends in the right way. So nothing in particular from me as far as percentages or anything like that. We all know the temperature of the environment out there where we're at, but still got to run a school the right way. So
Okay. And then the only, as FYI, there was a report in the packet regarding substitutes. It's something that was discussed at the issue level And it just has some information on statistics, fill rates, and based on different absences. If you have any questions after you review it, feel free.
One thing that wasn't, maybe you might be able to pull it up or speak to it briefly. We spoke to it a little bit before about the SU surplus. We talked about that a little bit. The dialogue was like how the, whether or not to put that in SU budget or send it back to the districts or whatever. Can you just quickly touch on that? Because I guess the reason I asked that is because they were like, oh, do we send half of it back? We send, half, all of this side, and kind of like if you send all of the special or all of the general budget back, but kept the special ed, I think still kind of equaled out to 50%, right? So
Yeah, so we have two surpluses. There's 208,000 for the general fund and 133,000 for special ed from the FY25 school year. And so there's three options. One, we could take that surplus and we could apply all of it or a portion of it to the FY27 budget, which would lower your assessment. Or we can refund those surpluses to the districts in either FY26, which is what we're in now, or FY27, and the districts could then budget for those revenue. So those are the three options. And really, whichever your board decides, it's the same thing. It's sort of just where do you want the money? So whether you lower your assessment or have a higher assessment and get a refund here, it's really all going to the same place. The only thing that I recommended 50%, using 50% of it to offset the assessment, just because of the concern that if we have used too much one-time money, then that following year we wouldn't have that one-time money. And then we would be starting in the negative, just like we talked about a minute ago.
does it matter if you what pool or bucket you pull that money from? Like if it said, oh, keep all of the general funds, but reimburse 50% of that special ed, does that matter?
Technically, no, it's all going to the same place. But when we look at the general fund, if we use all of the general fund, then next year the general fund won't have that unless we have another surplus. Won't have that $200,000 in one-time money.
Got it. Yeah, that's that.
So my recommendation to the GRCSU board was use 50% of the surplus to offset the assessments and then refund the other 50%. And for me, it doesn't matter whether we use that this year or next year. If you use it next year, then you kind of plan for it. You don't, unless you have something specific that you want to use it for this year, then you can just account for it in your budget process for next year.
Maybe, but there you go.
That's it. Finance, right?
Welcome.
All right, moving on. Superintendent's report.
I'll be real quick. So a few items to address. So just around communications, as we did last year, the budget communication plan. Lewis and I will be sitting down tomorrow or Thursday, just kind of finalize the letter, but the letter will be going out to families as we did last year, just about budget, let them know that first draft is coming out about the budget priority areas. And then in November, we'll look to do a presentation on cost drivers as we did last year, so people better understand what is within and what's not within our control as we set the budget, get discussing budgets, because as was highlighted, some of the things we talked about earlier, there are certain things that we can adjust, but there are other things that we have to react to, and hopefully that'll be a pretty quiet legislative session, but we don't know what's going to bring to us. So that's part of the budget communication plan. Along the same lines, we do have under Act 73, the school redistricting, we have a website up on our GRCSU webpage. It has a lot of good information there. It's probably about what Act 73 is, what it isn't. And I know there's a lot of a lot of confusion. I know we live in an age of disinformation right now. And, somebody will take something and will put it on like a Facebook page and then people will run with it. And I think you just have to be very careful about where we're at. The one thing that we know right now is that the school redistricted task force, which just met last Friday, is in the process of trying to bring at least one map that, from it sounds like Friday, they have idea of 2, maybe 3 maps they're going to be bringing to the legislature in December 1st. And I think once that hits the legislature, then there'll be a lot of other questions on what that means. We do see articles, in the newspaper. We see other boards who are talking about things that are happening, which are, there's a lot of people who are talking about stuff that's has not occurred. And I think we just have to be very careful. What I would encourage families to do is just to reach out to Sarah, to Colby, myself, Lewis. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer. But if it's like what's going to happen, that I don't know, because I said that's still up in the air. But it's a very tight process, and I think there's a lot of questions for a lot of us at what right now July 1, 2028 will look like. If that's still the timeline. Along those same lines, on October 22nd at Rutland High School, the Vermont School Redistricting Task Force will be having a public meeting from 6 to 8 p.m. in the gym, and it'll be an opportunity for community members to ask questions, to engage with the task force. I know that at Friday's meeting, they had a regular meeting, then followed by a community listening learn up in Oxbow. So it's part of their just trying to get out and just have people ask questions, respond. I know a lot of people have asked me, like, can we do this? Can we do that? Sure, that sounds great, but I think the redistricting task force is a better outlet for some of these ideas and just share like what you as a community would like. And I think it's important for each of our communities, Rutland Town, to really think about what would be us for Rutland Town and for its kids as we move forward, just as each of our other towns, whether has to be thinking the same. So October 22nd is a good opportunity for our community members to engage. I do not know if there will be an online link. There may be an opportunity for someone to view online, but as of right now, I do believe it's in person. So, but if I hear otherwise, I'll share with Sarah and Colby so they can get that information out and everything. And the rest is just just informational. So I'm more than happy to answer that question doing that.
Superintendent, I just wanted to say thank you for being at the GRCSU forum on Act 73. That was really informative and also encouraging for people to speak up with any concerns they have, put them right out there on the table.
Yeah, and I think for that, I think what I would encourage, if our boards and all the boards in the SU are very open and very transparent, and I think if there are discussions that Rutland Town will have about, partnerships or engagement, it will be done in an open setting. We are not conducting any meetings behind closed doors, maneuvering, strategizing. That's not taking place. It really is. Our board chairs have all been very cognizant of that. If there is a discussion about what's best, that we have to engage the public. And so if a community member hears Rutland Town like something's occurring, something's happening, please just reach out so we can dispel that. But I think that's, the community forum was just an opportunity to ask questions. But I think, I think some people have more questions than they have when they walked in. I think it's just the nature of where we're at right now, Act 73, and with what this all means and what this is going to look like. So, as I said since the onset, I think all that we ever want is just to make sure that whatever this is that it's great for kids, that our kids are not impacted by this, and it does reduce cost for our taxpayers, for community members. That our kids can see better programs, better services, better quality education, and also while reducing costs. That's what this is supposed to do, and I think that's our concern is, if are we moving too quickly and then we get in a position where it's like, well, it costs 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. I know that like I said, I just don't want our kids to be impacted by this. It's not fair enough.
Yeah, just like to close on that a little bit, like I said, not having like closed door meetings, right? Like it should be in public session. Well, we're constituent, like we're here for our constituents. So like I don't know why it would not be in public session because we have what 3,000 voters in Burlington, and I might know what 40 of them absolutely want coming out of this Act 73. I don't know what the rest of them want. So I totally agree that any conversations. And as far as like people coming out with questions, like I mean, I take that as a win because some of those people weren't even aware, right? So now they have questions, they're curious, they're asking, and getting more feedback and more information than they ever would have otherwise. So I think that's kind of stoked the fire a little bit. What is happening? How can we play a part? I mean, we had someone there read like, what can I do? Which was great to hear. So just continue. Like myself as a board member, I'll just continue to listen to what people are saying. And not that I say a lot anyway, but like I'm not going to just fill a void, by saying things just because I don't absolutely know. I'm more than honest and be like I don't think anyone really knows right now what the best path is. So the more the community can get out.
And we did have three of our senators there, Senator Collmore, Senator Weeks, Senator Williams. So I encourage community members to reach out to our three senators to ask them questions, as well as the two representatives, Representative Voss and then Representative Pritchard, who serve different areas within our SU. But reach out to your representatives, to your senators, your questions, well, provide feedback because that's what they're there for. As they begin debating this or discussing this in the legislature, they're the ones that can really start to be their input on the future of it.
I think that's the biggest thing is that everybody wants to keep what they have. They want to keep their school the way it is. They want to make sure everything stays the same. But they also know that things are going to change. Nothing's going to stay the same. Protecting the children, what they have is priority.
Principals report.
Thank you. So I have a number of things on there. Thanks to Mary Ashcroft, Burlington resident, select board member, I believe still, and Master Gardener. So she was back at it with McDougal science classes, weeding and just taking general garden care. She did that last week. Mrs. Manaville is super busy. The next couple of months, her and Mrs. McDougal in the 5th and 6th grade, they have assembly committee. So they, with peer leaders, they're collecting food for Stuff a Bus. So we have the assembly kickoff at the end of this week. With thank you to the Captain Credit Union. We'll be filling our local pantries, which is a great annual thing that we started. Red Ribbon Week is the following week. And Miss Manaville, Miss McDougal, and the peer leaders are hosting their first 7th and 8th grade dance after the Spooky Trail. Colby had a really long day with the EST committee last week. It's a full day of reviewing data after FastBridge. So we met with all of the teachers and followed the procedure for that.
A lot of good in-house robust conversation about students and needs and growth and kind of how we can all collaborate to best support our kids.
So you'll do that a couple more times.
Yeah, we do it 3 times over the course of the year. So do it again kind of at halfway point and then again in the spring.
And then our assemblies or character assemblies are listed there. And then Miss Manaville, she received a grant last year to get certified to become a ROCKS teacher. So it stands for Ruling Our Experiences, and it's for middle 6th grade girls. So she works with the 6th grade girls during lunch. But it just covers topics about healthy relationships, social media, cyber safety, conflict resolution, stress management, personal safety, academic career development, and just leadership. So I know that Jen Tift and Marsha Turner are also looking at a similar program for boys that Jen Tift has experience with. But this is a research-based curriculum that Ms. Manaville went to Ohio. Actually, again, it was fully paid for And she brought this back and started it last year. She's kicking it off again this year.
I read Miss Annabelle and dance, and you were saying rock. I'm like, dance rocks, rock stars. What's going on?
Yeah. Fast bridge reports were emailed to families, and then again, it was just perfect timing because then we also had that built into our PLC time for them teachers to email reports, and it was after a full data meeting with Colby and the EST committee, which was just good timing. A lot
Jack,
of
can I
oh yeah, go ahead.
Jack, real quick. Something to think about. Maybe this isn't the issue level too, but like, so the fast bridge reports, I was wondering, or something to chat about. You're not hurt my feelings if you guys don't do anything, but like when you share those reports, like they're great, and there's like good information, right? But like, I would almost be like as engaged or more engaged if it was just like, okay, these are the reports we got, right? And this is how many kids it impacted. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like all the substance that are in those like data reports,
Mhm.
like, I don't know, maybe I'm only speaking for myself, this particular point I am, but like, I'd love to just say like, oh, we have 350 and this, this fast bridge test did impact, we were able to target or, point out 30 kids that, we could, help out or what, it's like, what is the effect of the test versus like what we see, and I mean, I've seen this for a few years now. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, I don't know, I just feel like substance wise is like someone that's not an educator and not, reading that stuff. Because I know you guys get a plethora of good information from it, but could it just be shared to the boards just with like, how is all this testing? Because we always talk about test. How is it so or how is it impacting, the greater good for the student, So I was thinking about it the other day. So when I saw fast bridge, I just wanted to throw it out in the universe a little bit, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, instead of just the grass, and I say personally, ditch the grass and just say, like, we just have fast bridge, and this is what good came about with it. This is the kids that we were able to help or whatever. So, yeah.
I will say part of what that assessment and those reports help us in those data meetings that Sarah was talking about that we had last week. That is a big piece to the puzzle in what we look at for the whole child in terms of their academic progress. We kind of have those data meetings work as we look at those fast bridge reports in conjunction with their academics and talking with their teachers and our whole EST team. And we look at, does this assessment help us flag sometimes a kid that like pops up on our radar? Like, is this score maybe consistent with what we see in the classroom? And if so, is it showing that they're, making those marks, or are they in need of some more support?
Yeah.
And that's part of what we look at from a data standpoint, grade by grade, because we have, a third grade meeting. We look at all the third graders, the third grade teachers are there, and we use that as a piece to inform our support system. Are these kids popping up as kids that, maybe are not quite meeting that benchmark? Okay, if so, do we have supports around them that are helping them, make that, continued growth or make up some of that gap? And it helps us highlight the fact that if we do have kids showing classroom-wise and fast bridge-wise they're below, maybe if they're not in those supports, that's where conversations start. We're like, oh, maybe we need to bring them up for EST. Maybe we need to build in some more supports, weave in family members. So that's just kind of an in-house way we use it to drive a lot of our support systems.
Yeah, I mean, as you talk through it, I feel like the web and the matrix that I'm asking for is probably more of a lift than is even possible. Just
Like Jill said, like more just like of a story behind it. Like we have about 50 kids in EST that we were able to, that it started a flag in Fast Bridge, and
yeah, and then like say like out of that cohort of ones that are flagged, 40 of those 50 saw growth. Or I don't know, just something like that. Just like, saw the sizzle, I think is what, a line Brett told me, years ago. So that's kind of Because I see the reports being extremely useful for you guys, you know, great tool. But I feel like once it gets to the board, you know, particularly, you know, at 7:30 at night, yeah, everyone wants the password information, but then they're like, oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, okay. Thanks. So just like instead of 20 sides, one side, this is what, you know, this is where we're at. This is the improvements we're seeing, you know, the tests are working. So, but-
And I would say, like, I appreciate there's a lot of tests. You know, we have NAEP test for 4th and 8th grade this year. We have Big Cap test. We have Fast Bridge test. We have Saber screeners. And we hear it from the kids. Like when we've had groups of student council, peer leaders, TA ambassadors, whatever name we've called some of those groups, kids have said there's a lot of assessments and we're stressed. And it's not just from teachers and home, it's also my own kid. She gets so stressed over some of these assessments, and it's not like I'm like, this, you know, the end all, we're not like that. But I think there's just a lot of pressure on kids, and there is a lot of assessments. So we try to say this is a screener, you know, and so sometimes those conversations are good. We're like, you got in a massive fight with your mom, like right before school. I mean, it happens, right? Or brother or girlfriend. Kids are kids. They're gonna have good days and bad days. So
I think a big thing to emphasize is growth, like to kids, to families, to everything. Like it's not necessarily about where you fall that you really want to harp on. It's like you fall here, but we're doing everything we can to try and support your continued growth, and to maybe reach that benchmark if you're not there and go beyond. Because I think that's kind of the most powerful piece to it is the growth perspective.
and the bar keeps getting, you know, raises every time. So I think that's what's can be discouraging for some kids is that they've met a goal and they've made growth, but it's like the bar went even higher. So we try to balance that.
Some hold themselves to really high standards, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, it's okay if you're not 99th percentile in this, and that.
Yeah.
You're still doing amazing things. And again, as Sarah says, the bar keeps growing. Like it's, you know, it gets harder all the time because you learn so much between, you know, thirds of the year.
Those of you that have not tried the practice Big Cap test, I highly encourage you to take it. It's so hard. So I encourage you to take it.
I think our legislators,
What's that?
I think our legislators should take it.
I think they should too. Absolutely. Okay. I'm not going to read through all the physical plant stuff. There's a lot of, unless if you have any question, there's a lot going on. The one thing I will highlight though is PCB update. I had Kelly reach out to Evan Pendleton because I thought we were going to have another test for PCBs, and we know that asbestos, we guessed like if we get the asbestos out, the air quality will be better. So, and I'm like, do we still run those, I call them wind turbines with the charcoal air filters? And so he had shared that there's no state funding. So any future PCB testing or follow-ups are enrolled unless districts want to cover any of that cost independently, which we all saw coming too. So there's a ton of happenings and celebrations here. We had a great, we celebrated National Punctuation Day at the end of September, which was great. John Halligan came and spoke to our middle school students. We also had a parent night just to talk. He has come 3 years ago, but to talk about the impacts of bullying, especially online bullying. I mentioned to a few of you earlier that we've definitely seen an increase in our hazing, harassment, and bullying investigations and incidences. But a lot of parents are reaching out, asking for like parental help, even weekends and evenings, and asking for help with controlling time on screen time, which is nothing that we can control here. That's really a parent thing, but that's what we're hearing. We have had some field trips. We welcome Rutland Town Fire Department here for Fire Safety Week. The book fair is coming up. Step a Bus I had mentioned, the trick or treat trail. We have our middle school dance happening, Red Ribbon Week. And of course, Jill Alderman, UVM Teacher of the Year, is headed to that celebration at the end of the month. And Kate Manaville is also working with the high school fair because that's right around the corner.
We have a assembly next Thursday actually too, that's in there, called Take Back Your Voice. It's all about empowering students, and it's done through music. So it's a really cool opportunity that we haven't had come here before. And it's going to be K through 8. So we'll have kind of an elementary session, which again has a musical theme to it. It's all about empowering students and self-worth and that sort of thing. And then it has a middle school version as well. That's next Thursday.
And that is being paid for by the PTO. So huge thanks to our parent teacher organization for putting that forward.
Yep.
We had a great in-service here last Friday, and a huge thanks to our food service staff. John Manieri and his crew did a wonderful job. He buys a lot of his own things because he takes such pride in our building and just the people that he works with. So he did a great job, just presentation and food wise, again, out of his own pocket because is who he is. And we had the most teachers ever from Rutland Town that presented, from bridges to the playbook, some summer work that happened. So a huge thanks to our teachers. And I got probably the most compliments I've received from not only administrators, GRCC administrators, but also from other teachers and staff from other schools, just thanking our Rutland Town teachers for just showing them kind of boots in the ground teaching and tips and tricks, which was wonderful to hear. And also a number of compliments that I received, which I'm not used to. Usually we get the phone calls about the complaints, so it's really nice, about how clean the building is and how nice the building looked. So
Kudos to custodial staff with that too, with how many people we had in the building. And
yeah.
how many things needed to get set up and communicated, and they did a tremendous job with that on Friday.
And apologies to some of the community members. We did have some people parking on the sidewalk and in the road. We did, Green Mountain Power was wonderful. They had offered teachers and staff to park down in their parking lot. And Mike Rowe had said people could park over at Northwood too. So we had to ask a few people to move off the lawn. And want to just give a quick update to my NICUS about Lifetime Sports. So this is not my principal's report because this was after it was shared. So Bailey Gardner and Keith Schneider are our Lifetime Sports coordinators, which is, exciting. So the dates are updated. And so Bailey and Keith had told me that they're working on a survey to send and a letter to send out to families hopefully by the end of this week. So students in grades K through 8 will be able to choose from skiing, snowboarding, gymnastics, bowling, rock climbing, ice skating, tennis, and possibly swimming.
There's also
And indoor golf is new this year. Yeah, very excited about that for some certain grades too.
Is gymnastics new?
That was last year. That was last year. So so Keith had mentioned the only difference from this year to last year is that they're now offering indoor golf for grades 5 through 8, and then they're going to rotate kindergarten through second grade students every 2 weeks. So there are top 3 choices between bowling, gymnastics, rock climbing, ice skating, and tennis, just to give them more opportunity at various activities over the next 6 weeks. So I know they had, Colby and Keith worked together as Lifetime Sports co-coordinators. So they had talked to other schools. And of course, it's just great because they get feedback from kids and the teachers. So I think that's something that's new. The other thing that Keith and Bailey are going to do is that they're going to have a spot during parent-teacher student-led conferences for families to review their kids' choices too. So if anybody wants to help volunteer, go get those people, put some background checks going.
And part of the feedback that I think was received was about younger grades picking an activity and being sometimes stuck with that for 6 weeks if it was something that they were just trying and they really didn't like that much. So I think the thought is for younger grades, they can get kind of a 2-week taste of multiple things during one Lifetime Sports session, like one winter. And then by the time they get to older grades, they maybe have more exposure, have a good idea of what they really like. And then that's when they can choose something for the entire 6 weeks.
And just another shout out to our primary grade teachers. So we had a number of K1 primarily teachers that welcomed Rutland City teachers into their classroom to observe UFly, our literacy program. And so I just now received another email that another Rutland City school would like to do the same. So I think we should start charging and maybe have them go on the road or videotape or something, because there's so many schools around the state that are coming to observe our teachers, and they're just like, again, so that's great. And I think it speaks volumes, and our data is kind of proof in the pudding that what we're doing works. So we have such a great team here, supportive board. So thank you all. And as requested, I thought this was a great suggestion. We've been putting, I reached out to Liz Hutchins. I asked double check with Lewis, one of the individuals that work in his office. So she keeps track of our 9 through 12 student enrollment. So we're gonna bug her once a month just to keep an eye on that. So that's included in the board report bug as well. We'll continue to do that. So we're at 176 9 through 12 high school students that.
511.
Yeah.
Thanks. I don't think I have anything chair report wise that we haven't touched on in some capacity over the past hour and a half or so. I do, like Chris had mentioned, the task force being right in our neighborhood or right down the road there. On October 22nd, I do encourage people to try to make it to that and a little closer to the action, I guess, in terms of what's happening and what their thoughts are, and share your thoughts with them. So that's the only thing I have in that regard. I think contracts and vacancy, the contracts are informational only, so take a look at that in your packet if you choose. Upcoming no old or new business budget was the primary topic of the night, so I try to stay true to that. Upcoming meeting, the reason it was to be determined is the initial calendar was for November 11th, which is Veterans Day. So I think you hear Mark, the Monday the 10th, that works for everyone. So we'll look to have that meeting on November 10th. No one is opposed. And that'll be updated on everything, right, Chris? I don't need to make any mention outside of this. All right. Teacher, staff, community comments.
I'm good.
All right. And I did not put anything on for good and welfare, but does anyone share?
Yeah, well, I did go to the PTO meeting, and that was amazing. Tina Keshiva, is our former chair here, so, and she does a great meeting. So I'd encourage any parent or teacher that wants to, they're welcoming for people to go, and it's a way to have some things happen that enrich lots of the students here, something beyond what we already budget for in our curriculum. It's fun. It's a great group.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, it was the after school soccer. Thank you. Was it the eighth graders that are on?
Seventh.
Yeah.
Thank you to them because the kids they just love it.
Yeah.
Like it's really great. Yeah.
One more night.
So yeah, so more. Look at their
Thursday.
medals, t-shirts. So cute.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. And Wes is out there now. Sophie was out there. And again, they also were those
They were the
younger
little
kids.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy. And I mean, thanks for those programs. Thanks to the middle school sports in this community, because I wouldn't say that we ignore Wes, but now with Sophie being a freshman and just a whole different thing, it's pretty comforting as a parent to be like, let her roll. And, how school went. Oh, I don't know. What's it mid? Is that usually what kids now?
You got it.
Yeah.
Damn, you're on fire tonight.
So so it's been good. A good start for him. It's great. So appreciate the staff and admin for all that. So and everything at the greater level of Act 73 and all that. It's great to just keep control what we can control, which I think people have done a nice job of. So, all right, so I will take the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
I,
Uh,
All right, meeting is adjourned at 7:59.
see,
All right, I'd like to bring this Rutland Town School Board meeting to order at 6:05. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a motion to approve the agenda.
make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Jeff. Any additions or deletions? All those in favor?
Right?
uh,
All right, next up, staff and student highlights. I believe it's.
Yeah, do the slideshow. We brought just, some class books for you guys to look at. If you like. It's perfect. Writers workshop, yes. You might need to look at it. So we just wanted to come tonight because we've been focusing as a school on writing instruction and did a lot of training last year. And we just wanted to go over our writers workshop model in first grade. Which we're really just starting, so it's in the very early stages. Takes a lot to get them back on their desk. We go very slow in the beginning to pick up the pace meter.
Trying to find that work stuff here. So.
No worries.
Take your time, work patient, it's in the job description.
Yes. So the writers workshop model, we have three main parts to it. And the first part is starting with a mini lesson, which is the whole group coming together to learn a certain skill or a trait or something that we want to focus on. Right now, we're starting to introduce personal narratives. So personal narratives would be our mini lessons that we would be doing. And a lot of times they involve mentor text or anchor charts to really help students learn the concept or the skill.
So these are just some of our kids during their independent work time. What you are looking at are some class books that we did at the beginning of the year, just to sort of kind of build that community of we are readers and writers and how do those things come together. But this is more like when they're working by themselves. So yeah, we have hard little workers this year, big groups, but they are hard little workers, good little writers. Yeah, we're very impressed right now with what they're already showing us. And we're just getting into narrative right now. Starting with like personal narratives and writing some really simple basic stories. So that's been fun.
And for 6 and 7-year-olds, they are pretty amazing. And this is the class books that Abby's talking about, how we start to build our classroom community and coming together and showing them that they can publish their work. And they love going back and rereading them.
And some of these are done independently and some they do with a buddy. So that's kind of fun too. And then we put it all together. Then sharing, obviously we want to make that time for them to share writing. We talk about a lot in the training that we've had, that writing is language and writing is how we communicate. So you have to give kids the opportunity to also share that for them to feel that purpose of writing. So trying to make time for all of them to do that. And again, there's a lot of them. We make it work. So sometimes it's just a partner share and sometimes it's where they can actually share it with them.
And it helps them show ownership of their work and they love it. They love being able to share it with their peers. It's a big deal. Through the keys for literacy training that we've done, we have adopted writing beliefs at Rutland Town School. There's actually a big bulletin board over by the nurse's office that has all the writing beliefs on. So we, with first graders, we start slow. We introduce each writing belief to them using an anchor text and some activities. So that way they really see themselves as writers, they get immersed into it, and they're collaborating and growing all throughout the school year. So these writing beliefs have been great, you know, just knowing that we have these and they know that this is a staple to building our writing community.
Create some like common language too between us adults. So what they hear with me might be the same thing they're hearing from SKU or another teacher, which can be really helpful too. And one of the anchor tricks you saw at the beginning was like how we would present that to kids in just kind of breaking this down a little bit, because we obviously don't do all of that. So
And then this one just talks about what keys to literacy is and how we've had the training here. And Sarah has been great with last year. She got us all, you know, collaborating and getting together in sessions and really brainstorming. And there's so many resources on this site also that we as teachers use with our students. So it's been wonderful having that here at Rutland Town School.
we're actually taking just like a 1-day workshop coming up soon. That's sort of like a add on to what we've already been doing. So that's kind of nice. So, and again, they've been so supportive of giving us that time when we feel we need it. So.
But that's really it. We just wanted to explain how the writers workshop model is working in first grade, what they're doing. We are starting, like we just said, we start with the class books. We start with personal narratives, and then they're going to be moving into opinion and a lot of other different types of writing. Anyone have any questions for us?
I do. I got a curious question, I guess. So I was reading a book called Think Again. The context of the chapter, but they were talking about like things like kindergarten, first graders in art classes that were taught to redraft like 4 and 5 times, and how much progress was made of it. And they also they almost had like the art set up like an art exhibit where then like you said you were critiqued, right?
Yeah.
And that's how they expanded. Well, yeah, if I made those wings smaller, or I did, and they said that the depth of the art was significant. So do you guys, I mean, how much peer interaction or critiquing is done, or how many drafts do you guys do?
They are always editing and revising their work, and we're always encouraging them to do that. And we do a lot of partner work too, depending on what the task is at the end of the day.
And sometimes like that share time, like we'll have a focus, like I'll particularly pick, 5 kids that I know need help with sentence structure or something like that. Just to give an example, we'll say, okay, when we're sharing today, you're going to pick 2 or 3 friends, and they're going to tell you one thing they like about your work. And then they're going to tell you one thing that they think you could add or change, and we really work on how do we phrase that productively. Hence why you start with what you like, add on something they can work on. And that's really good language for them to use too, because it also plays into their, social interactions and things like that. And then gets to that editing and revising piece. So in a minor way, but first grade perfect.
Right. And then as they go on, they, second, third, fourth grade, they would have more opportunities for that as well.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting what an early age they kind of because the books Think Again. So in many respects, it's kind of thinking outside the box of the norms.
And gives them a chance to reflect on their own drawings and writing, which is nice.
Come over here for a second. I just noticed the camera.
Oh, you want us on camera?
We're okay being right here.
Mars is behind you.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, okay. I'm seeing it. I have to tell you, as a parent, those are the things that I say was the stories that my kids grow, especially when they were really little, see what's important to them and how they grew. So they're doing a really super job giving them that opportunity. It's a lot of work for 6 and 7-year-olds because they are just forming their letters. And they're nice too. Right.
Well, there's times when they're doing their pictures, and then it's like, okay, what can you add to that? And then let me go back and add a speech bubble or add a label, all those little things that they can get that feedback from their peers and add that back in.
Probably see them so much.
I think YouFly has done a lot for handwriting too, and making writing less of a complex task. Because it is so hard. You're doing so many things. You're making sure you're forming your letters correctly. You're thinking about what word am I writing next? You're thinking about your spacing. We can just go on and on about the number of things that go on in the brain when you're writing. So for some kids, it becomes overwhelming, and just Fly helping to break that down has really helped with just those foundational writing tasks. And then getting to go ahead and revise and do all those things. So.
I just want to say that you guys are doing a phenomenal job. The extra workload we had
Oh, thank you.
this year, you guys are doing phenomenal.
Yep.
It's going by fast, right? Right?
It is. It's almost, or it is that October, so that's insane.
I think we're gonna make it.
Yes, they appreciate all the extra praise and chocolate or time. If anybody wants to help. So both Jill and Abby had welcomed all 44 first graders in their classrooms since we weren't able to secure a third long-term sub for Mrs. Prozo. So we're still utilizing Mrs. Prozo's room, and they've just become a great community of learners. So we're so grateful for them, and they're just getting, all the kids are getting top-notch instruction. And being a mom of a first grader myself doesn't get much better than this. So, they see themselves as authors. And Colby and I were able to pop into Jill's classroom, I think last week. So that's 10th through 1, and they're just so excited to share, what they're writing and learning. And
The couple, well, we circled around, but a couple that we talked to were able to tell us a ton about what they were writing and what you're learning about. So again, just a good indicator. You guys are doing a great job.
yeah, and that lesson I came in on was just subject predicate, with kids really learning sentence structure. So that was, you guys can do it as subject was and predator. So, you know what? A predator, I'm gonna be predator. You know what? That's like very close, right? So, well, thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for all the other people for coming. Thank you.
Moving on, I do want to just take a step back real quick and let Linda share the vision and mission for the board. This is something we tried to make a habit of last meeting and already failed with that habit. So we're going to start again. If you would.
Glad to. The GRCSU vision is engaged, empowered, and prepared for tomorrow. And the mission, our mission is to engage and empower students to achieve academic and personal success, preparing them to be responsible citizens who embrace a love for learning.
Thank you. Teacher, staff, community comments for this time. Next up, I will request a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a confidential student matter.
So moved.
All right, motion by Jeff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Right?
So the board is going to recess for a period of time to, for this executive session. We'll step out of this room, right, Chris? So correct. Anyone that's here for the public, then stay here for the time being, and then we'll reconvene. And this
Should leave the link open. We'll just put it on